Hi guys! I wanted to read you the next chapter of Frog and Toad, okay? So right now we're reading the fourth chapter of Frog and Toad by Arnold Lobel. And Frog and Toad, it's called Frog and Toad Are Friends. And the next chapter that we're going to read is called A Swim. So if you remember, we've read a couple of chapters so far about Frog and Toad. And we've read about a couple of the things that they do together as friends. So let's look at our table of contents here really quick. So our first chapter that we read about was spring, when Toad did not want to get out of bed, even though it was springtime, like Frog told him. And then Frog ended up tricking him to come outside anyway because he pulled off extra pages on his calendar. And then it kind of flipped ahead to the next page called The Story, when Frog wasn't feeling well and Toad was trying to come up with a story, and he could not think of one, and he was doing all of these silly things. He did so many silly things, and then he was tired, and then he wanted to hear a story from Frog, so then Frog basically told him the whole thing over again, which is super silly. And then our last chapter that we read was called A Lost Button. When Toad lost a button on his jacket, Frog was trying to help him find it, and then it ended up that it was in his house the whole time. What a silly mistake. But it happens to the best of us, right? So the next chapter is about a swim. And if I take a little bit of a sneak peek, I see that it looks like they are getting ready to go swimming in a pond. And this kind of makes sense to me because our characters are Frog and Toad after all. So of course they're going to go swimming probably, right? All right. Toad and Frog went down to the river. "What a day for a swim," said Frog. "Yes," said Toad. "I will go behind these rocks and put on my bathing suit." "I don't wear a bathing suit," said Frog. "Well, I do," said Toad. "After I put on my bathing suit, you must not look at me until I get into the water." So this is different, right? Because it's frogs and not people. But I'm getting the fact that since Toad doesn't want Frog to look at him, and Frog doesn't care, it seems like Toad might be a little more self-conscious than Frog is. Self-conscious means you might not want people to look at you, or you might not want them to give you a lot of attention. "Why not?" asked Frog. "Because I look funny in my bathing suit. That is why," said Toad. Frog closed his eyes when Toad came out from behind the rocks. Toad was wearing his bathing suit. "Don't peek," he said. Frog and Toad jumped into the water. They swam all afternoon. Frog swam fast and made big splashes. Toad swam slowly and made smaller splashes. Seem to be having a fun time together, swimming and splashing. A turtle came along the riverbank. "Frog, tell that turtle to go away," said Toad. "I do not want him to see me in my bathing suit when I come out of the river." Let me move this closer so you can see. I am not good at YouTube, guys. All right. "I do not want him to see me in my bathing suit when I come out of the river." Frog swam over to the turtle. "Turtle," said Frog, "you will have to go away." "Why should I?" asked the turtle. "Because Toad thinks that he looks funny in his bathing suit and he does not want you to see him," said Frog. So they're trying to save his feelings. He's over here looking pretty shy. Some lizards were sitting nearby. Does Toad really look funny in his bathing suit?" they asked. A snake crawled out of the grass. "If Toad looks funny in his bathing suit," said the snake, "then I, for one, want to see him." Uh-oh. Snake doesn't sound super nice. He might want to say something rude. "We want to see him too," said two dragonflies. "Me too," said a field mouse. "I have not seen anything funny in a long time." It seems like they all want to get a closer look at Toad. Frog swam back to Toad. "I'm sorry, Toad," he said. "Everyone wants to see how you will look." "Then I will stay right here until they go away," said Toad. The turtle and the lizards and the snake and the dragonflies and the field mouse all sat on the riverbank. They waited for Toad to come out of the water. "Please," cried Frog, "please go away." But no one went away. Toad was getting colder and colder. He was beginning to shiver and sneeze. "I will have to come out of the water," said Toad. "I am catching a cold." Toad climbed out of the river. The water dripped out of his bathing suit and down onto his feet. The turtle laughed. Let me see. Sorry. Gosh. The turtle laughed. The lizards laughed. The snake laughed. The field mouse laughed. And Frog laughed. Now, I'm looking at this picture and I notice that Toad, for sure, does not look happy. He looks sad. He looks embarrassed. And all these people out... all these animals out here are laughing at him. I want you to think right now, how would you feel if all of your friends were laughing at you because of something? What are you laughing at, Frog? Said Toad. I'm laughing at you, Toad, said Frog, because you do look funny in your bathing suit. Of course I do, said Toad. Then he picked up his clothes and went home. He doesn't seem to really care very much. Everyone was laughing at him. He's just taking his stuff and going home. All right, well, that is the next chapter of Frog and Toad. The next chapter that I'll read you in a day or so is called The Letter. All right? Now, just like how I'm working really hard on reading my books with expression and I'm paying attention to the punctuation and who's talking and how they might be feeling, I want you to do that in your books too. Whether you're reading fiction, which is a story about made-up characters and situations, or if you're reading nonfiction, which is, as we know, about things that happen in real life, you should still be reading your books with an excited voice. You should still be trying to read it as best you can and rereading it if you mess up a little bit, because as we all know, I do that all the time too. All right? Thanks for listening. Have a good day.